Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We're back. Been missing for a good month.
No, we took a break, a little hiatus.
Yeah, yeah. All the things to get out of the valley of the sun and have a summer of some sort with this crazy world we're in. So I'm glad to be back talking to you.
Yeah, you as well. It was you. I missed you. I talked a little bit about you while I was away, and so it's great to be back with you.
Dad, you're my friend.
Yeah.
All right. So we just, as the last four, we just want to kind of continue conversation and not let this go away because I feel like there's still a lot of constructive conversations that can happen, and we have a long way to go, and people still listen. So we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we continue to move forward, it seems like sometimes we take a few steps back, and so we constantly have to be reminded that we can't put the topic down. We have to keep it moving. We have to keep talking about it so that we can begin to break down those barriers
Right.
that the barriers of oppression and systemic issues
It's all still here every day,
every day, every day.
even though it's not in your day to day life.
No.
So we started talking about Facebook because last week they put out a conversation that Queen Latifah had with four activists.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, I loved listening to all of them. I thought it was very interesting, and started following every one of them on Instagram because I was like, I want to know more. It's so interesting how they all approach. Um, and then you kind of talked a little bit about anger, and let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that whole
You
topic.
know, one of the challenges that I face quite often as a Black woman is this whole stigma of being angry.
Mm-hmm.
And so Patrice Culler, she's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. So she was also part of that conversation, one of the activists. But what she said is that anger is necessary and it's important. And it can be both constructive and destructive. And so we always have this, and I think Kendrick Sampson said it as well, but we all have this duality that we experience in every single emotion, right? I think we talked about that a few weeks ago as well. But the whole stigma that unfortunately Black people are always angry, we're criminalized for it. And so, in those instances, I guess I would ask people to stop and pause, especially as we begin to label people,
Mm-hmm.
especially people of color. And because sometimes I think that it could be an unconscious bias that's just programmed within us. And so stop and ask questions in those moments to maybe try to gain an understanding of what's going on. Why are you upset? Why do we, even if you look at it from a cultural perspective, why do we continue to become angry or upset or outraged? And it's because, again, the voice of the Black person is not being heard, or we continue to see the same cycles over and over. I think it was just last week that Jacob Blake just died, murdered in front of his children. And so now not only do you have a loss of another Black man, but his children had to watch as he was murdered at the hands of police, and so we just have to figure out how to stop this cycle. And I think one of the key ways of stopping the cycle is just to begin to ask questions. And when we see people that are upset, oppressed, how can we begin to change it?
And it's that whole like walk a mile in their shoes. And in talking with these conversations, which only five at this point, it's like I had no idea. It's like it's so bizarre to me to think that we're living in the same city and we go to the same events, and it's like it's very there, and I just never
Right.
never saw it. I'm gonna see
Right.
it now.
Right. So, removing those blinders almost, Karie, right? I was talking to my guy a couple of days ago, having a very intense conversation, but it doesn't matter. He said, it doesn't matter until it matters, and I think that we almost have to shift our perspective on things, because when one person in our community is affected, we are all affected in some way. And so just taking a moment to even make that human connection,
Hmm.
understand as a human being, what is it that um, that person, any person, whatever the emotion is, why are you experiencing that emotion?
Hmm.
And how can I help you? How can I help this community move beyond those emotions of anger, hurt, pain?
Right. But it's
And
funny
maybe,
that you say that right now, because then I think about when you first talked and you said, it's not my responsibility to make you feel okay. It's not my
mhm,
responsibility because I'm living this and now you're just seeing it. Like, it's interesting because I think you automatically go back to, now, how am I going to fix this? And it's like, it's not up to the Black community. It's up to the white people, I think.
right,
Anyone,
right,
like to open our eyes, like you said, and take off the blinders, because you can't fix it, obviously. Like, it's not been fixed, it's not getting any better. It just seems like every day you turn on the news and there's another story and you're like,
right. And there was another gentleman on that talk with Queen Latifah, a white gentleman. I believe his name was Matt.
yeah,
I hope
he was
that.
a, yeah.
But even he said that, we're at that point where the white man has to wake up. They
Mhm.
have to be willing to take a stance. They have to be willing to see what is going on and to begin to address what's going on.
Right.
And like all of these things are important, right? You have the emotions, you have the awakening, you have the action. And so we have to begin to move forward collectively as one voice, one people,
Mhm. Right.
to begin to address it. And so we were having a conversation within our family, and I don't know if I shared this before, but I have three sisters, excuse me.
I was going to say
Um,
sisters and one brother.
yeah, he is my brother, but two of my sisters married to white men.
Mhm.
And so we were having this conversation over a couple weekends ago, where ultimately we were talking about how can we move forward if America is not willing to take ownership of our history.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate sometimes, because as white America, we don't want to, or and I say we, as white America, and maybe you can fill in the gaps for
Mhm.
me. Sometimes it seems as though white America does not want to take ownership of the history, almost like they don't want to be guilty
Mhm.
of what happened in the past. But
I feel that way. I feel like it wasn't my choice to have slaves. Like, I could never fathom that. But the reality is that there won't be healing. And that's kind of like psychology 101, until there's ownership. And
right,
it's like that stuff happened. Like, and
right.
I think I was telling you before we got on that the Oprah magazine just came out, and she was talking about how she has the slave register on her office wall. It's like
Mhm. Yeah, that's
still there.
so yeah. And my brother-in-law was saying how one side of his family actually owned slaves, where the other side of his family didn't. And he said that he had to be willing to accept that, because just as much as you accept the benefits that came
Mhm.
from owning slaves and the wealth that came along with it, you have to be willing to accept the pain and the hardship that it also caused.
Mhm.
And I think, and like you said, that's the first part of healing.
Mhm.
So taking ownership of what happened to our past does not mean that we inflicted the pain ourselves,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But
And that's the
it
hard
just says,
part.
right, it's just saying, it's acknowledging it. It happened. There was wealth that was generated from it. We still benefit from it as a people now. And unfortunately, because of that benefit, going back to duality, there are people that are still suffering from our history.
Mhm.
There are still people who are suffering because of the systems that were being put in place. So
Right.
now, how do we take that conversation, elevate it, and begin to break down the barriers and the systems that are currently in place that are oppressing Black people?
Amen.
And so having these conversations and being able to really recognize what's going on in our communities
Hmm.
and being able to stand up against the injustices. And that looks differently for everybody,
Right.
but being willing to step out of our comfort zone and
And say
just,
it matters. Like that's just like you said, it matters. It
mhm,
matters. It's not,
mhm,
no more is it not going to matter. It needs to matter.
right,
I love that.
right.
I want to make t-shirts that say it matters.
It matters. Love it. I
Uh,
love
well, we're coming up on 15 minutes. I think that's everybody's optimal listening time. We
it.
definitely will do this again. We have a couple people that I know that we've reached out to talk to, and I think that's kind of what delayed us a bit. But one of my good friends growing up is a principal in Detroit area, Novi, Michigan, and she's incredible. And I would just love to have her insight
Mm,
from growing up with her. I think it would be very interesting. So,
yeah. Yeah.
and
So I look
you
forward
know,
to future conversations as well. We'll continue to expand.
yeah,
And if there's anyone out there that would like to be part of the conversation, reach
yes,
out to it.
yes,
We would love to hear from you as well.
right, exactly. So keep in touch with us, everyone. Keep
Yep.
sharing.
Keep
All right,
sharing.
thanks for listening. Love and light.
Love and light. Talk to you soon.